What's going on, guys? Let's go ahead and jump straight into this topic because it's a pretty hot one right now, pretty relevant, pretty pressing. Might even go ahead and upload it on top of another video that I already just uploaded. Guys, if you haven't yet, I would highly recommend. I'm just gonna plug this in because honestly, it's a great video. I would say it's probably one of the more important videos on YouTube regarding this hobby right now. Nostalgianomics, if you don't know Alex, if you don't know his channel, he does a lot of great content, some controversial, some more agreeable, but either way, he has undoubtedly done a lot of good content for the hobby and a lot of stuff that you can learn from. And he just brought up a topic today talking about Pokemon as an investable alternative asset class. And I think that that's obviously, people have talked about it in this hobby pretty much since the pandemic. And for me especially, I jumped full into this hobby. I pretty much sold everything I had and jumped into this hobby. And a lot of people are saying, well, yeah, that's because you're an idiot, Orion. That's why you sold everything and jumped straight into this hobby. But for me, it wasn't even really about like, this stuff is going up in value, I'm gonna make a ton of money. Yeah, sure, that thought crossed my mind. A lot of people were talking about it. But for me, it was more of the case of, I have my first kid, I'm getting nostalgic, all this is happening around the same time. I always wanted to start a YouTube channel, so all of it became one thing, and here I was dumping all this money into Pokemon genuinely because I loved it, and I kind of got addicted to the hobby as a whole and collecting. Alex brings up this video on CNBC that was just brought up about a very high-end whale investor talking about allocating 20% of his portfolio to collectibles. Now, you can say, whoa, Orion, hold up, but that's not just trading cards. That could be art, that could be watches, that could be cars. And I'm kind of in that boat when it comes to diversifying into collectible things that aren't really traditional investments. I do have my own traditional 401k Roth. I do have my active portfolio on Robinhood. Haha, he's on Robinhood. Yes, I'm on Robinhood. And I would argue that I put just as much or more into that as Pokemon, but Pokemon has actually done a lot better for me in the long term than my traditional investments have. In fact, when I dumped my investments to put them into Pokemon, my investments were pretty much, especially in my Roth, my 401k, they were at all-time highs. And I took my gains and I rolled them into something else that, one, I know I would be really passionate about and enjoy, but also I thought maybe would have further gains as well. I may or may not use this Charizard card as part of my thumbnail. We're going to go over why I would or why I would have that in the thumbnail or bring it up in the video. But basically, guys, you have the big money players now coming into this hobby and saying that it is worthwhile. You have golden auctions having a lot of people investing into golden auctions. The whales are coming, and it's inevitable at this point. And we're going to talk about probably tomorrow. I'll upload a video and we'll talk about the whole craziness of the market manipulation going on and all of this. Guys, all of this is connected. We are not living in our own world over here, okay? All of this is connected. Collectibles are now connected to the traditional markets. People are manipulating and artificial inflating collectibles the same way they would in the stock market. I thought that this market was a little more safe considering the fact that, they can't, it's companies can issue shares. It can be manipulated that way. You can short these companies and Pokemon in this hobby, trading cards in general, there can be reprints. That's about as much, volatility as you're going to get is with reprints. And then when stuff gets hyped up or there's FOMO gets incited and everybody, jumps on the bandwagon on one card like we've seen with the Umbreon V, that PokeRev talked about, even though he's been talking about that for longer than just the video he just put out. And then on top of that, we've got the Ghastly, but we're going to talk about that another day. It's just very apparent and obvious right now that people are coming to this hobby, they're investing lots of money in this hobby, and they're trying to get in, get out, and make a quick dime. And I completely understand that, but a lot of people wonder why I've collected so aggressively, why I have hardcore gone after grail cards that I want, and really thought less and less about how much I'm spending, how much more I'm spending over market. Will I lose money if this goes down a little bit? I literally just messaged a friend about this the other night in our group message, I was talking about the gold stars. And for me, that is like a really pressing thing to go and collect. But I was talking about the gold stars and how I've been aggressively collecting those. And I feel like it's more of a beggars can't be choosers market in a sense that I am begging people to sell me these cards right now. I am begging them to sell me these cards. I always revert back to gold stars because it's genuinely just something that I love. Crystals, first editions, but cat's out of the bag. Those cards are getting really hard to get. First editions are getting really hard to get. You're not seeing nearly as many listings as you would have seen the past couple years. I've talked about theme decks. I have a very large theme deck collection. You guys can see in the background up here. If we just tilt the camera up, you guys can see that I love theme decks. Everybody who's been on this channel pretty much has always known that about me. But my point is, like, there are so many different avenues in this hobby, and they are all kind of going up in value. And it's kind of a race, in my opinion. I'm not trying to incite FOMO myself right now. I'm just telling it how it is. I think that this is an unfortunate truth that we are going to have to face no matter what. I mean, you've got people like Opossum and Rattle saying, like, don't worry about this, don't FOMO into this. And then you have the channels opening all this product. You have very differing opinions about like embracing the hobby and enjoying it and opening up and ripping stuff and investing into sealed product. And then you have people saying like, don't buy into this. This seems artificial. Don't get roped into this. And I think all of them are starting to come together as valid points because it's just craziness right now in this hobby. We would have thought that it calmed down a little bit after the pandemic, and it seems like it's just getting even more wild right now. And I am personally seeing this in the cards that I am going after. I am seeing large purchases and big money cards. That's the right way to say it. Big money cards, you know, Charizard first editions, Crystal PSA 9s and PSA 10s, Gold Star PSA 9s, PSA 10s. I am seeing these cards get bought up at an alarming rate. I'm seeing people being very, very overly competitive for these cards to a point where I just throw my hands up and go, you know what, I give up because these prices are getting ridiculous for trying to buy these cards right now. And I just can't compete. I can't compete with these guys. And, you know, that's why, like, people are like, that's just crazy, Ryan, that you could spend, you know, $10,000 on a Pokemon card. I am so stoked that I ended up picking up this Crystal Charizard in a PSA 10. This is one of my all-time grails. I've been wanting one ever since Collecticon here in Charlotte, ever since I pretty much saw the card in person and knew that I had to have one. And I have literally zero regrets because cards like this, more people are going to come into the market, bid me up, bid against me, send more competitive offers. It is becoming a game about who can pay to play right now. And we're seeing that in modern, vintage, grails, sealed products. We're seeing people bid up sealed products to ridiculous new prices. We're seeing singles of modern get bought out on TCG Player and making people think that they're worth way more than they actually are. But it's kind of like, it's irrelevant how we feel about it at this point because us collectors, the people that make up the most of the hobby of people that actually really enjoy this stuff and want it for their personal collection, like the craziness I have going on in this room, we have the most to lose right now. Like, it's gonna be really competitive moving forward, in my opinion. I think as more people point out the fact that there's money in the hobby, more people are going to try to make money in the hobby, more people are going to manipulate the hobby, more people are going to artificially inflate the hobby. We're going to see it everywhere, guys. And I'm literally racing. And when I say racing, I mean aggressively racing to spend whatever extra income that I have on the cards that I really want, the decks that I really want, the boxes that I really want. It's getting ridiculous right now. And on top of that, we talked about a while ago, all the whatnot streamers, all the box breaks happening. Channel Poketrav, he opened a Skyridge box not long ago. One less box out there in the world. He opened an Aquapolis box recently. One less Aquapolis box out there in the world. This stuff is going to be non-existent soon. Mark my words, this stuff is going to be non-existent soon. And I'm calling it right now. The next couple years, all of these really high-end vintage booster boxes are going to start getting bought out by very high-end collectors, people who want to invest only, and we're going to see less and less box breaks for this stuff because people are buying it and holding on to it as an investment class. It's like people that just really want to collect this stuff, like myself, we don't stand a chance. We really don't stand a chance. And I'm pretty happy with my collection overall. I've gotten as far as I think I'm going to get with a lot of this stuff. Like, I may not even complete the gold stars. Like, I thought that was going to be one of my big goals, completing the gold stars, completing first editions. As you guys know, I sold my last first edition Charizard in a PSA 5. I almost am starting to regret it a little bit now because I can't find one in a higher grade. And I know there's people out there that are going to say or think, Orion, relax. They're just cards. You're going to find these cards in the future. But you don't understand. For people like myself, we really, really want this stuff. We really appreciate this stuff. We want to hold on to this stuff forever. We don't care about investing into it. Okay? It's just something we want. If you're OCD or you're ADD like me and you're a completionist and you've got to get it now, you've got to complete it. You know, it's also part of this generation's instant gratification. Like, things are moving very fast. And they're going to continue to exponentially move, right? Like, we're going to see cards get very, very expensive. I think that we're closing in on the last couple of years probably to find this stuff at a relatively decent price because people are coming into the hobby, like I said, and being very competitive with these higher end items. And I can think of literally five sellers right now that whenever I'm sending an offer for something, one of those sellers ends up buying up that same card and listing it immediately. Like, even though I wanted it for my personal collection or I wanted, to pick up that card to have a duplicate copy, it is getting harder and harder to find stuff that other people aren't already on, right? Like, it's not even sniping auctions. That's not even a thing anymore, right? Like, people are putting their best foot down, like, 6 days before the auction ends. I mean, the first day an auction goes up, people are like, okay, I'm willing to pay top dollar for this card. For example, Crystal Lugia, PSA 9. I picked one up and I sold it. That took a couple months. I waited on it. I found somebody that really appreciated the card. They wanted to buy it. They're very happy with it. Okay, another one popped up and I thought, this is a good auction. I'll pick this up. I'll get maybe a slightly better price than the last one. I just love the Crystal Lugia, so that's a card I'm always going to want to buy. And that's not to say that I'm not partially a part of the problem, right? Even if you really enjoy collecting this stuff, buying into the same cards, buying into the stuff that you really love so you think other people will love it, also inflates the market, right? I am definitely one of the people that's also a part of the problem. I would say the only people that might not be a part of the problem who are sellers are people that are consigners, right? And there's pretty much a handful of people that are really good at consignment, Catch 'em Collectibles, or Catch 'em All Collectibles, Z&G Emporium, Probstein. Like, there are, TCA Gaming. There are a handful of people that are really, really good at doing consignments, and they're not necessarily inflating the market, even though, of course, the people that are consigning with them want a little bit more and think that their name and their exposure and being a well-known seller will get them top dollar. That could definitely affect part of the market and be a part of the inflation that's going on. But, like, guys, this is crazy. Like my mind is blown that someone went on to CNBC like it's 1999 Pokemania all over again. Like, there's not even a pandemic, right? People aren't sitting in their house with nothing to do. Pokemon is still very relevant, very popular, and very hot to put your money in. And the world is now seeing it. What was it? Blackstone, I want to say Blackstone. I believe it wasn't BlackRock investing, but I think there was another hedge fund. There's a couple big name hedge funds that are investing. Alex mentioned Mark Cuban investing in Pokemon. He pulled up a Gary Vee video, right? Collectibles, I think it's also like, it's no wonder, collectibles have been an alternate asset class for a very long time. Okay, let's not act like we've been living under a rock here. Okay, artwork. Like, my parents are artists. Even the artwork they've held on to, because they know that even stuff like that, especially when you build a name and people appreciate you as an artist and they buy your artwork, like my mom's paintings, even the paintings she has in my home, she's like, don't get used to that because I may have a buyer for that at some point. Like, these are very real investments, and they have been for hundreds of years, arguably, like just alternate investment classes. Even trading cards really have been an alternative investment class, maybe more so with sports cards than anything, but Pokemon is finally, in my opinion, breaking into that. Alex's video was really, really good. I don't agree with everything that Alex thinks, but I also am definitely on board with the game is changing. People are coming in, the hobby's getting pumped up, and honestly, Opossum mentioned you can buy this, the Ghastly in Japanese. I don't watch his videos a lot, but this Ghastly one was kind of pretty comical. And he mentioned, like, buy Japanese. I think that Japanese actually could have a really big second wind. If all these people coming into the hobby are Westerners, mainly Westerners, and they're getting into buying English and buying vintage grails and buying the hottest new modern cards, and we're talking with modern, because they're not nearly expensive as vintage grail cards, PSA 10 first edition vintage cards, they're going to be buying hundreds, thousands of copies of these modern cards of illustrators and SIRs and alt arts. They're going to be buying this supply up and then selling it at a profit. And it's just, the market is about to get flipped upside down. Like stuff's about to get crazy in this hobby, I think, and it's kind of scary. And that's also going into sealed booster boxes. And I think right now more than ever, I've worked very hard on this channel lately to pull back on investment talk. But I think it is becoming the path of least resistance right now. Like, everyone's talking about it. We're all starting to really fully believe in it. For me, I always liked to think that Pokemon was an investment, but at the core of it, I genuinely just had to have all this stuff. I wanted to collect all this stuff. So it's validating that this is happening. Like, it's like, yeah, Pokemon's legit. Pokemon's legit. My wife's family and all my friends that see me spending all this money on Pokemon cards, and my own family, my mother and my father, my fiance, seeing me spend all this money on cards. I'm sure Aspen will grow up and judge me, as a teenager and be like, Dad, why did you put all this money in Pokemon cards? Because I loved it. Because I loved it, period. And I actually want to get into Yu-Gi-Oh! As well. Because Yu-Gi-Oh! On all honesty was, and for those of you that are on the channel, I have my Yu-Gi-Oh! Collection from the past. But I'm talking about getting into buying high-end Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. I don't think the franchise is nearly as strong as Pokemon, but I do love Yu-Gi-Oh! And I would like to buy into some of those Grail Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, the starter deck first editions, a DDS, Blue Eyes White Dragon, like Gate Guardian. There are so many options. But anyways, guys, like, it's getting really, really exciting to be a part of this. But in the beginning, it was just like, I just wanted to buy this stuff. And now it's like a no-brainer to everybody. Yeah, Pokemon, yeah, that's definitely an investment at this point. It's crazy to think that all this new money is about to start coming in, because it's validating, but it's going to be horrible. It's going to be horrible for the hobby. It is that when the hobby went mainstream back during the pandemic, I was excited because I thought, Logan Paul pumped all this stuff up. Everybody thinks it's cool now. Like, now I can collect the stuff that I loved as a kid and I won't be judged for it. It'll actually be kind of a pop culture fad type thing. But it's taken to a whole new level now. I enjoyed buying this stuff when I knew it was popular and when I knew it was socially acceptable and when I knew that you could turn it into a business if you worked really hard at it. But now it's not even like you have to work really hard at it. It's socially accepted. Now it's like becoming all about money. It really is becoming all about money, what plays you can make, what moves you can make. And I respect the hustle. I respect the grind of flipping certain things. But when it's just all about money. You're going to get all the wrong people coming to this hobby. You're going to get people coming in, buying everything out. Guys, I already can't compete. I can't compete. I am a small fish. Just like Alex said, a lot of us collectors, a lot of us YouTubers are small fish in the grand scheme of things. And, you know, for people that are they just flow with the hobby, they sell modern stuff, they find deals, there's always going to be business to be had. This doesn't mean that somebody's going to come in and buy up everything, but it's not too far off. And that's I think this is very concerning, right? This is both exciting, like Pokemon is an asset class now, let's go. But it's also very concerning and very sad. A group of people could single-handedly, like, actually take control of part of the market. This is already the case with vintage Grail cards. There are already, you know, only a handful of people with high-end cards, okay? I might get crap for this, but let's just look at the first edition base set Charizard. In a PSA 9, there are 700 and change of that card out there. Maybe closer to 800 now, but still. There's less than 1,000 people in the entire world that own that card in a PSA 9 in mint condition. We're not even going to talk about 10s because that's just the upper echelon of things. I am struggling to find that card to re-complete my first edition base set master set. And I'm realizing now this could be the worst time to try and to be able to complete these sets. Like, granted, it's not the pandemic, so I'm kind of just like, I'm being very aggressive because, like, I know during the pandemic that card went for 30 to 50,000. It's like, okay, they're still selling in the $16,000, $17,000, $18,000, $19,000 range, $20,000 range. I'm almost thinking, like, if I can get a first edition Charizard in a PSA 9, anywhere from like 18 to 25, I'm now thinking that that's actually a really good price to pay for a card like that, because who knows, next thing you know, we could see a whole new revolution of people coming to the hobby, buying up everything, collectors that don't even really care about the hobby or about the cards or about the nostalgia or how it makes them feel, you know, makes them have a happy tingly feeling inside, collecting all these, you know, old school cards that they would have never had as a kid but now as an adult can afford. It's not going to be that. It's going to be people just buying up everything as it becomes available. And there's already a handful of sellers I can think of that frustrate the living heck out of me because, like, you can't compete with that kind of money. You just can't. And so it just sucks because I really like vintage old school stuff way more than I like modern stuff. Like, do I care that Umbreon V is getting pumped? No. Do I care that Ghastly is getting pumped? No. Is it relevant? Is it a topic to talk about? Yes. Am I going to probably talk about it in another video? Yes. But overall, does it concern me that much? Do I even care about temporal forces? Not really. But the vintage stuff is what terrifies me with this becoming a more legitimately seen and respected alternate asset class. Like, that's what worries me, is people, you know, dumping their portfolios, dumping their Roth IRA like I did, dumping their slow retirements and saying, you know what, I don't care if you are a naysayer, I don't care if you're pessimistic and speculative of this hobby. I love the hobby, or I want to make money from the hobby, and I'm just going to dump everything in the hobby, right? If somebody dumped all of their traditional investments and sold off everything and dumped into the hobby, it would only take a couple people doing that, really, like taking all of their net value and dumping it into the hobby to just absolutely inflate prices of cards. Like, we could see something like we've never seen before, and it'll be interesting in the following years to see that happen. I think it's an awesome time for this channel and for me as a collector to be very in tune with what's going on, and basically understand that, like, things could change very quickly, very drastically here. So I'm telling you guys right now, whether it's modern alt arts, this is not a FOMO thing, this is not a hype thing, this is just my honest opinion. Whether it's alt arts, sealed booster boxes, vintage Grail cards, any of those, a niche collectible that you enjoy, I would really fast track how you're collecting this stuff and prioritize it a little bit more if you truly want it. If you're in it for money, who cares? You can buy it at a higher market price and sell at a higher market price. This isn't for the money makers, really. This is more for the people that really, really want to collect this stuff and are wondering, will I have time? Will this stuff be available? Will the same cards be available in 3 or 4 years like they are now? Will they just be slightly more expensive? I don't think that's going to be the case. I've been told this in the past, and I kind of ignored it and thought, you know what? I've got so many friends that are like, nah, dude, this stuff's going to be around. People are still grading these cards. There's plenty of it. Plenty for everybody to go around. I've mentioned that it may be turning into a commodity, and more than ever, I'm starting to feel like this is becoming more of a commodity and a very real, serious investment class. And you are going to be competing with people that don't just love and enjoy the cards, but they see dollar signs and they have the money and the fat wallets to back it up. That's what we're going to be competing with here, guys. And I'm already competing with those people now. I say competing because the reality is, when you're collecting, high-end stuff, you are competing with other high-end collectors, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, of high-end collectors out there. If you're looking for this stuff in near mint grades, and PSA 10 grades, PSA 9, it's gonna get really heated here soon. And I do think that this is good advice and not FOMO of me saying if there's something you really, really want, I would try and go after it and try and lock it down sooner than later. Patience is a virtue. Patience pays big in this hobby, right? You can wait out stuff to get pumped and dumped. You can wait out cycles of popularity and see stuff trend down as people need money. The market, since this is becoming more like the stock market, people hate that comparison. Alex has mentioned that people hate that comparison on his Nostalgianomics channel, but it is the truth. It is becoming more like the market. It's a little bit unavoidable at this point. And I do think that people should try and to collect the stuff they want. Maybe they can be patient, but I'm just saying people may miss the boat if they're waiting too long for the stuff to either go down in value, find the right deal. There is one big aspect of all of this, though. Those of us that have really been entrenched in the hobby and truly appreciate it, we know this market pretty well. We know that there are cycles of ups and downs, and just like the Charizard from the pandemic being a $50,000 card to suddenly dumping, right? We've seen this happen before. It can happen again. People come into this hobby with no real prior knowledge of it and think that they can just buy up everything and put these astronomical new prices and get those prices. They don't know what they're doing. They might not know what they're doing, and they might end up losing their butts on it, getting burned, and even selling stuff for a loss. So this could be a wake-up call to the people thinking that it's a genuine investment and wanting to go all in on it. This is my warning to you that it might not turn out the way that you think it is. At any moment in time, if we have a recession, if we have an economic implosion, if something big happens and it affects all the markets, it affects the collectibles markets too. If we're going to say that these things of traditional investing and collectible investing are correlated at all, we have to also accept that there are going to be severe downturns, retraces, and dumping of certain products, certain cards, certain collectibles, right? While I think that something like this $10,000 Charizard card is going to be a stable long-term investment, there's also a good chance that the market turns around, people get really, really bearish, people get sick of it, people want to exit out of the hobby. I can't tell you how many collectors I've talked to and asked, why are you selling this card? And I get the same response. Hobby's getting ridiculous. People are just clout chasing. People are flexing. Nobody cares about anything other than money. This hobby disgusts me now. I'm seeing a lot of opinions like that, guys. And that is not good. That is overall really, really bad news to see. So if we see more activity like that, this card I just bought could be worth half as much as what it's worth. And I would understand it. I wouldn't be like absolutely shocked. I would be like, okay, these were very expensive pieces of cardboard that people bought hoping that they would gain value. I hope this Charizard goes up in value, but at the same time, it was very risky buying a card for that price. So I think we still need to exercise some caution here with people that really want to get heavy into this hobby. But I'm also saying that I'm in agreement with Alex in terms of, you know, this is widespread broadcasted news now on CNBC that collectibles are a very serious and respected alternative asset class. And that's crazy. It's crazy. It's like, I'm not really too surprised, but I'm also like, people might actually in my social groups take me seriously on the fact that I'm doing this with the mass majority of my time and my extra income. It's no longer going to be a thing that's like necessarily frowned upon, but for people in the hobby that really enjoy this, is this all really great news, or is there just going to be more money flowing into the hobby, derailing the rest of us from the chance to complete our collection goals, fulfill our childhood, you know, nostalgic fantasies of, you know, collecting these, you know, certain cards? I've got a lot of mixed feelings about it, but as soon as I watched that 10-minute video, I was just like, oh my God, I have to talk about this real quick, because I think a lot of people do look up to me in some ways and do see that I've spent my money on all this stuff. And, you know, they probably think, oh, Ryan just absolutely is a super passionate collector. And that is true. I am super passionate and also slightly naive for overspending on some of this stuff during the pandemic. But there was also that part of me that did genuinely. It wasn't just like influences like Nostalgianomics or Rudy on Alpha Investments, or, you know, just other channels that now it's very common. Everyone's talking about investing and everything to the moon. It's not just those influences. Deep down, I went to school for finance and business. I after school, I ended up working in a financial office, believe it or not. After school, I ended up investing all of my money in the stock market. I made a ton of money very quickly. I also lost 10 times that amount in a shorter period of time, and have now had to rebuild my portfolio and invest in that. Meanwhile, Pokemon is doing extremely well for me, and everything seems to be working out on this end. So I am firsthand experiencing that Pokemon is actually saving my portion of investing and investments. Like, I feel very, very good about all the stuff that I have. Even some of the products I've opened, like Pokemon 151 and Scarlet Violet, like, that set has been so good to me that I could probably actually make a profit on everything I open, or at least break even, which is unheard of in this hobby on opening products. Breaking even is ridiculous. Like, we almost always lose money on the gamble. But anyways, guys, this video has gone on too long. I'm focusing on trying to make shorter, more concise videos, but like, I just can't help but rant about this topic. It's getting crazy out here. People are spending way too much money in this hobby, myself included, and I'm not necessarily proud of it. You know, I have a family to provide for, and we're on single income. Like, I provide for everybody here, and I have major responsibilities as a partner and a father to provide for my family. And so it's not to say that it wasn't a good thing for me to put my money in this stuff, but it's also to say that, you know, as all this stuff is getting more expensive, if it gets really, really competitive, if it gets really crazy, I might just put a full halt on a lot of the stuff that I've been going after, because I just can't compete. I just can't compete anymore. The people that, you know, want the same stuff that I want, and they want to flip it and they want to sell it, they have way more money than I do. It is what it is. I've been bested, essentially. So, you know, I'm okay with what I have now. I'm pretty happy with my collection and how far I've come. And I'm ready to dial it back a little bit and just focus on just maybe saving money and maybe buying into some sealed booster boxes for flipping down the road. I don't know. And then just spending money on my family, on maybe buying a bigger home in the future. I don't know. I just feel like if this hobby gets really, really crazy, you know, maybe we can still play it. Maybe there's still some angles to it, but it just seems like the competition is fierce and I just can't compete with it. Anyways, let me know what you guys feel like. It feels like this is definitely going to be something that affects modern investing and collecting, because that stuff is the price point is way cheaper, which means people can manipulate it and inflate it and buy into it and shill bid stuff all the way to the moon way more easily. It's a little bit more difficult to do that with higher end stuff, because, you upbid, higher end item like that first edition Charizard or my Crystal PSA 9 Lugia. And then it's like, these guys, I imagine, no matter how much money they have, eventually they get overextended and over leveraged with all these high end cards that they are not selling. And eventually it has to get to a point. I don't know if they have just a big bankroll or a fat credit card line of credit, but eventually it should get to a point. If no one buys this stuff at these premiums, it should get to a point where their hand is forced, and they have to sell this stuff at either a loss or at a closer market price. And maybe the market somehow stabilizes and all these people coming in realize that you cannot easily manipulate this market, because the hardcore collectors and people like me that really, really love and are passionate about this hobby and certain cards are not going to pay your prices. We are going to wait until a certain price comes around that maybe is 10% above market, and that's reasonable. I've paid 10% above market on so many cards I can't tell you, and now they are worth more than that above market, or 10-20% more than what I paid above market at that time. So I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is people coming in and creating all new prices for all the cards that I'm interested in. So we'll see what happens. I've been very lucky. A lot of people have helped me out find the right cards. A lot of people have worked with me or noticed my channel and sold me a card at a slight discount because they know that I'm passionate about collecting this stuff, and that it's going to a good home. But I just don't know. I'm really interested to hear what all you guys think. I'm really happy that I made this video, and I'm excited for the future of this hobby as a whole. A little bit scared too, a little bit worried too, and I'm definitely interested to see what everybody else thinks about all this. And if people are equally as worried as I am, if people are equally thinking about maybe turning the dial back and letting people know that, hey, we can easily all just slow down on collecting. Do you want to jack up prices and inflate and FOMO and hype up all these singles? We'll just be chilling. We'll be chilling right here, waiting for the prices to come down. So maybe there's different angles at this, and we can kind of band together as a community and basically say we are not falling for this. Anyways, again, peace out, guys. It's been a great video. Excited for the hobby as a whole. We are now, I guess, considered an actual investment class. And at the same time, maybe it's becoming less of just a fun hobby, something to be worried about. Want to know your thoughts on that. Anyways, peace out, guys. Have a good one.